Hey guys, I just learned how to do this in landscape. The last time I did it was vertical and nothing fit in the frame. So I'm still trying to get a little bit adjusted here. Hopefully we can make all this work. Can't do that. There we go. There we go. See if I can figure out how to get the little chat thing to pop up so I can see what's going on. Okay, perfect. Cool. Oh, hey John, how you doing? I've got the Tamiya. This is the MF. Hang on. The MF01 chassis. I've never had this chassis before. I'd like to preface this with saying I'm not a fan of Tamiya M chassis cars. Doing pretty well, thank you. How you doing, Hawkins RC? So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the M chassis cars, although I have a number of them that I use for projects. And when this particular kit came out, so I'm a huge fan of the Fiat 131. I cannot express how many models I have of this car. It's ridiculous. I've actually, I don't want to get off topic here, but the Fiat 131 is not a very common car in the US. In fact, they're practically extinct. And I've been trying to buy one since I was 16. And I don't even want to get into the nonsense I've run into trying to buy a 131. Now, this particular one here is based on the Fiat 131 Abarth, which is a high, oh, hey, RC Snap-on. So yeah, the Abarth car is a completely different beast. It's only Fiat 131 in cosmetics. Everything else is pretty unique to the car. So when Tamiya came out with this car, I had to have it. And yeah, I may have made a mistake. So I'll start with the body. It's no surprise that RC car bodies in general, from practically every single manufacturer, aren't quite right. And what I mean is that proportions are always a little bit skewed. And I don't blame really any of the manufacturers for doing anything intentionally. They've got a number of platforms to place a body on, so they're going to have to wing the body's proportions to get it on that platform. For example, the Tamiya Lunchbox. If you look carefully at the Lunchbox body, Dodge never made a van with those, how do you put it? The different van lengths and window options for the Dodge van of that era don't correspond to what Tamiya made, but Tamiya had to make it like that to fit the chassis, which already existed from the Mitsubishi Pajero, which came out before. So anyway, there's elements of this car's body that don't exactly work. The wheel arches are a little bit wrong. There's certain curvatures on the body that are a little weird. The greenhouse is a little bit too short. So, okay, I get it. But then there's other things with the car, like, for example, the headlights. Again, I know this car like the back of the real one, like the back of my hand. This is not how the car looks at all. And you might be saying, well, it looks just about like that in pictures, but there's a certain nuance to it. The headlights have a certain spacing. The grille has a certain design. And this thing here just kind of went weird. In fact, let me show you. So, by the way, there's going to be a video covering the chassis build and the body. But let me just kind of jump in here real fast here. Here's what's kind of weird, too. And again, I haven't really bought it Tamiya in a while. So, MF01X, bespoke body. Of course, is not the beautiful line art one that they used to have. Here is the manual. So, it's a generic manual, which is unfortunate. I understand why these are additional costs, but kind of unfortunate to have a generic manual. As such, you have to be careful. It tripped me up a couple times. There's a few areas in here. Yeah. So here they're showing you the short wheelbase, how to build that. Then the medium wheelbase right there, and then the long wheelbase. So I kind of got confused for a minute there. Then there's a supplement right here. Unique to the Fiat. So wheels and yeah, from the is it the chimney? I don't even think the Jimny has a bespoke manual, but this is the wheels and the wheelbase of the Jimny. So here it's showing you, things unique to the Fiat. Okay, that's fine. What I found very surprising, which I shouldn't for Tamiya. So you see the paint scheme? There's the main blue body, yellow top, yellow fenders. Do you want to see how you make the yellow fenders? You ready for this? You got about 11 million yellow stickers you got to put on there. How is that going to work out? I cannot imagine that this is going to end well, other than whoever puts the Tamiya ones for the ones on for the XBs. That's just insane. So anyway, I made the new grill. I made one of these for the Rally Legends car, which is beautiful. So here is the grill. It'll just kind of pop in from the rear, just like the actual car. And now the headlights are the correct size. The grill protrudes in the correct way like the real car. It's dead on accurate. It's just a little odd because what I've done here isn't anything weird that Tamiya hasn't done in the past. They've done that on a lot of their touring car bodies, where they've got a Lexan body with supplemental ABS parts. It's a little odd. Here's what else is a little odd. So no holes for the body mounts, which is great. However, you have your little dimples. So there's one body mount. Would you like to see where the other body mount is? Smack dab straight through the vertical edge of the hood scoop. Are you joking, Tamiya? Are you joking? I mean, what? And then at the rear, now this is, again, it's annoying but common. Body mounts straight through the window. But I don't know. I always thought Tamiya made scale models and Traxxas made cars that you launch off a ramp. I believe the phrase is to the moon, I think. What kind of backwards world are we in here now, where Tamiya is making whatever the hell this is, and you've got other companies that are making magnificent? I just don't get it. I don't want to say I'm splitting hairs, but the vast majority of buyers for this car are not going to give a crap. See, exactly. Okay, so ECRC, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's a plastic grill on the Golf. Why didn't they do that on the Fiat? I don't get it. It's very odd. Nevertheless, I'll make it work. I'd like to jump onto the chassis, which this is weird. I always enjoy building models, kits. What I enjoy building. I hated every second of this. Absolutely hated every second of this build. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't like it. It's a weird chassis. There's certain elements about it I like. Like, for example, it looks robust. Like, it looks meaty. I like how strong it gives the illusion, which is cool. But for those of you who have any Tamiya cars, you know that their plastics come in two flavors. One, glass. Two, chewing gum. That's all Tamiya offers, okay? If you don't believe me, let me see here. Hornet. Okay, Hornet front bumper. Okay, this is the same stuff that the gearbox, the chassis, and the A-arms are made of on the Hornet. Okay, that is the Hornet plastic. Then you have the car like the Hot Shot, where if you sneeze in the general vicinity of the car, it shatters into a million pieces. This is why I'm having to rebuild the entire front half of the Tamiya Mondeo. The FF01 is because all the hard plastic, when you use self-tapping screws, the self-tapping screw doesn't really cut well into hard PCABS, that's polycarbonate ABS blend. It doesn't really cut into it. What it does is it kind of pushes it out, and over time, the plastic fatigues, the plastic loses plasticizers, it gets harder, and things crack. So and I'm not joking about this, every bloody place on this chassis that is this light, or I should say like kind of this dark gray color, every hole was tapped with an M3 tap and put in a machine screw. Every single part of this car. That isn't all. I just threw away, here it is, in the garbage, the shock tree. I'm trying to get my flush cutters here. Maybe it's because I haven't built a Tamiya in a while, but I know the friction shocks Tamiyas used to come with, and they're crap. But that was, 30 years ago. Whatever. This car cost $169, I think, $169. And here's the shock. Okay, here's the main body of the shock. Here, are you ready for the shock shaft? Are you ready for the shock shaft? This is plastic. This is a plastic. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. It goes in here. You put the top on somehow like this. I didn't even put them. I just threw them out into the recycling. And this somehow goes there. Yeah. So there's your shock. Okay, there it is. I mean, where's my garbage? Where's my recycling? Throw that crap away already. It's just frustrating because I've got $49 WPLs that have better shocks out of the box. So what I did is I threw some TAO2 shocks that I had laying around. I only had 2. Then I had some other shocks that I didn't use for another project. Again, I only had 2. So now I've got kind of a mix and match. Oh, hang here. Psycho 13 Garage. Oh, don't go. Oh, that lost the little text. Where'd it go? Hang on. Oh, sorry. My pleasure. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight. I'm just ranting as usual. As usual. So I do have some oil-filled shocks on this car, which is great. It also did not come with bearings. I added bearings. But for $170, I have to add bearings. I had to add oil-filled shocks. It did come with a Hobby Wing. Hobby Wing? Is that what these are called? I think these are Hobby Wing. 1060 ESC. I like these. These are really good ESCs. And it came with a Tamiya Molex connector. It's 2023 and it came with a Molex connector. So of course, I cut it off. I insulted it vigorously. And I then violently executed it. So it's gone. What's also odd is that in the instruction manual, it showed the ESC here, which is fine, but the cables are too short. So I ended up drumming out this little recess to shove it back here. The reason I didn't put anything higher is that this is going to have an interior, so I needed the extra clearance. Anyway, so it was just not a fun build. I did use self-tapping screws in the A-arms because these are, yes, they should be banned. These arms are made out of the rubbery plastic I talked about earlier. So it's together now. A couple other things. Battery placement. Perhaps I've just been out of it with Tamiyas for a while, but a lot of their cars, where's my hot shot? It's on the other side. There are Tamiya cars, oh, my frog, where's the frog? Here's the frog. There are Tamiya cars that historically have had batteries that, stick out on each side of the vehicle. I bought the WPL B36 parts. Oh, no, the trailer parts are not there yet because I have a whole ridiculous series coming out for the trailer. So that was just for the B36. You'll see the trailer stuff out really soon. So back in the day, this was common, right? The battery hung out, okay, whatever, right? This modern vehicle, the battery is also hanging out. Does anybody out there think that there's a problem to what they're looking at here? Okay, this is a modern vehicle, and this car came out in the 1980s. What's the problem with a battery exposed to the elements in the 1980s and a battery exposed to the elements in 2023? Does anybody know what the problem here is? I'm sure you're all shouting it at the phone. I'm going to say it anyway. Oh, thank you. I love the B36 also. Thank you. LiPo. Okay? With a nickel metal hydride or a NiCad battery, who cares if it gets hit with a rock? Worst case scenario, it gets a little warm and it fails, right? Not a big deal. LiPo batteries, when they are damaged, are absolutely, I mean, beyond dangerous. Beyond dangerous. Now, I actually still have nickel metal hydride batteries that I use when my kids are playing with the RC cars, because nickel metal hydride batteries are ridiculously stable, and not dangerous whatsoever. LiPo batteries can be deadly, and that's not a joke. So Tamiya built an RC car that, price point wise, it's still too expensive, but I assume kids are going to drive this. Why is the battery exposed? Yes, it's a hard case LiPo, but it still just seems odd that you would do this. I don't know, maybe I'm being too critical, but you have to understand that Tamiya was my favorite manufacturer. So just like with your own kids, you have a higher standard for them, right? You know, if Traxxas showed me this, I probably wouldn't say one bit at all. But with Tamiya, it's a different story. It's like, why did you do this? Never. And there's something else weird here. It's the weirdest thing. And everything I'm saying, by the way, is going to be in the video. Okay, so the servo. The servo, sit with me here for a minute. The servo is attached to a bracket. The bracket is attached to a spacer. The spacer corresponds to the sizing of the servo, so that when you install the servo onto the bracket, the spacer will center the servo over the center opening on the chassis. That bracket is slotted into this side of the chassis. Okay? Now, I feel like I've been in the hobby for quite a while and I know what I'm doing, and yet I messed it up. The servo is still offset this way. I mean, and on top of that, servos fail. That's my number one most failed thing, is a servo. Let's say this, does Tamiya even offer a LiPo? That is a fantastic question. Anybody who's on a computer, can you see if Tamiya offers a LiPo? Like a Tamiya branded lithium polymer battery via their website. If anybody can look that up, that'd be great. What was I complaining about? Oh, servo. So your servo fails, right? Oh, I'm going to take the servo out. No, you're not. Because the servo, it's in here. All the mounts are in here. You have to take apart take the front part of the chassis off of the spacer that sets the length. Then that means you have to pull off the bevel gear for the four-wheel drive system. Then you have to take the bumper off. Then you're going to have to split the gearbox, which is 3 or 4 screws here in the front, at which point you have to take these screws out, the servo slides out, and you can change the servo. You have to take apart the gearbox. Phoenix, hey man, you just missed my aggressive rant on Tamiya products. You have to take apart the transmission to access the servo. I used to have a Ford Contour SVT, fantastic car, and I sold it when it needed spark plugs. Why are servo savers offset when they... servo savers tend to be offset if the steering links are different steering links are different lengths. Is that saying right? They shouldn't be. They should always be pretty centered. That's why you get even left and right steering. And if they're not even, then you're going to steer one way more than the other. When can I get my hands on the parts for the Fiat 131? Everything is still prototype for the 131, and nothing is finished. So I'm going to need about a month or so. Nevertheless, so I had a Ford Contour, and I sold it because it needed spark plugs. And 3 of the plugs were against the firewall. You basically had to take the engine out to change the spark plugs. That's how I feel about this here. One more grievance. Now, my TA02, my FF01, my MO1, MO2, and MO3 are all silent. Okay, turning this remote on, turning the car on, plug the battery in. The motor gear mesh is spot on. I've had the gearboxes apart again to make sure I haven't done anything wrong. This thing sounds like a diesel locomotive. Does anybody have one of these? I'm convinced I've done something wrong, but I haven't. I'm also convinced that I've missed a screw somewhere because the case isn't closed. I don't understand. Like, there's so many things about this chassis I don't understand. And I feel like I've done something wrong. Anyway, it's a major grievance. It's also four-wheel drive, which I don't really give a crap about that. You have the bug version. Is yours also noisy, Phoenix? So yeah, I'm a little confused about this. It is four-wheel drive. The 131 is not four-wheel drive. That's just a matter of pulling the drive shaft out. And probably plugging this side over here, and you'll go from four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive, which is, to me, it's more fun. It doesn't bother me that it's four-wheel drive. I can confirm the bug was noisy. That's weird. Loud as a rock crusher. God, how weird. Yeah, it's irritating. And part of why it's irritating is I go on walks with these cars all the time with the kids and my wife, because I'm a child. And I don't bring certain cars because they're too noisy, but the on-road cars are normally not a big problem, except for this one. So anyway, that's the chassis. Now, Harry, where'd you go? Are you still on here? I decided against the body mounts because they're stupid. So what I have done is over-engineered everything. And I've made these body mounts here. You see them in gray? Sounds like a... Wait, yours sounds like a sewing machine? Or are you saying with this? Oh, trust me, if you were here, you'd hear how loud it was. I know sound never really kind of translates too well. I have this bracket back here, which goes from the rear mounts way back. And on the front side, it goes directly off the mounts. And by the way, love that you bump in the sidewall. I have to do it. So anyway, these are the magnetic mounts. Over-engineered me? No, never. Why would I do such a thing? These are mounts that are going to seat a 3/8 inch by 16th inch disc magnet, one on each four. On this side, these are a little alignment pins right there and right there. And those are going to align to a piece that is bonded to the trunk area and the hood area, which doesn't exist. You can see they're not in there on the car. And you'll just be able to snap it right on and it'll be good to go. A lot more work at the rear. I've got to bring it out more and down more. At the front's pretty much perfect. I just don't have any vertical adjustment here. With the rear, I do. You see this plate right there? It adjusts vertically 4 millimeters up or down. At the front, I don't, so I'll have to redesign that. I just wanted to get something on the printer. We're going to do some wheels. It's hard to see, but the offset... It's just ridiculous. There's one thing I cannot stand is when you have an inner fender and then the tire is 6 feet inside of it. That looks stupid. And that's what we're looking at here. You can't see it, but from where I'm sitting, you have the rear fender here and then 6 or 7 millimeters inboard at all four corners are the wheels. Again, I am conceding that Tamiya there had few options. They're not going to make a bespoke wheel. They used these. I don't remember where they came from initially. They've used them for years. They're a very pretty wheel. They are not correct for this car, but they're damn close. The Campagnolo wheel that the 131 is supposed to have is extremely close to this wheel. I'm going to go with a different set of Campagnolos, and I have these already out of the bag, so I just went and used these mini lights. So anyway, yeah, a lot of work on the 131. It's going to get the interior. This is going to be the street version, so it will be likely painted red or blue. I don't know. We'll see one of the two colors. I will do some components for the rally version as well. There are some molded parts. The wing is molded. The mirrors are molded. The side scoops are molded. But all in all, it lacks the important pieces. Hey, I was supposed to be put by the fire this year. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Proline was really good this year. So yeah, that is the MF01X. What's odd about this? This is the 58723 chassis, and I cannot find a damn thing about that on the entire front of the box, at least. It must be here somewhere. Tamiya is showing some upgrades back here. I did buy this motor plate because I like letting motors dissipate heat. It's an interesting design because effectively, you see this blue stripe back here? Right there? That's the motor plate. It's weird, you know, but whatever. I like motor plates, so that's kind of cool. It's there now. So what you're looking at here is about $200. And with $200, I could have bought every WPL in existence, the vast majority of the FMS product line. It's such a peculiar cost differential where you get an extraordinarily basic car with no electronics, effectively. I don't know. It's peculiar, but we're going to persevere and get through this because I do love the Fiat 131, and I'm going to make this thing absolutely outstanding. So I'm going to, oopsies, I'm going to push this off. Do I have any requests out there? If I have a car within grabbing distance, I can pull it out and show you all a vehicle if you would like. Actually, hang on a second. We're gonna go rogue real fast. Unrelated. Hang on a second. But I've been thinking about getting a bruiser for a while. Sure. Okay, bruiser. Okay. Oh God, a bruiser. All right, great. Let me bring that up here. Yes, no bearings, by the way. Bruiser. I sold my bruiser actually because I never drove it. I do have this. Just bear with me. There you go. Come here, you. So this is the HG P407. And I've talked about this on occasion. I do not, what is the wheelbase for that body? No. The wheelbase is, this is the 131, 239. It's the long one. I think it's 239. Yeah, 239, which is a weird number. Okay, so this is the HG P407. This is very likely the first one in the country. I actually bought this when I was in Hong Kong for a business, and I was at a model show, and I saw this, and I thought it was a bruiser, and I bought it. What did I spend? $75. I mean, I'm not joking. It was under $100 for this vehicle, and I just assumed, oh, that thing's gonna be a piece of crap. So I brought this thing home, and it's magnificent. One problem with it is the front pin to lock the front axle. I've never been able to get it to work. I don't know what's wrong with it. It could be untapped. Who knows? I've just never taken the axle apart to investigate. But other than that, it's a rock-solid vehicle. This is the kit body that I've painted up. I don't own, I never have owned a modern 2012, I think it was, bruiser re-release. I forget what year that was. But I've been told that parts for this transfer directly over except the transmission. It is an interesting vehicle. I do use this quite often on road. It's rarely been off-road because it's genuinely terrible. But I use it a lot when we go on walks. I tow a trailer behind it. It works great. My son loves driving it. You know, it's been reliable, very reliable. It's got a lot of miles on it. The kit electronics are laughable. They're horrible. But anytime someone approaches me about, oh, hey, I'd like to get a bruiser, an HG P407, the first thing I have to say is, get a Trailfinder 2. All you have to do to make a Trailfinder 2 look like this is lift it up a tad and put big tires on it. The reason I say that is there's nothing available for this truck. Like, there's no upgrade parts. Well, excuse me, there are, because one person made them and you're talking to them. But other than that, there's almost nothing available for this chassis. It's not a good chassis. there's nothing really that great about this thing other than nostalgia. If you want to get one of these and drive it, Trailfinder 2, big wheels, and you're done. I thought the transmission swapped over as well. I'm pretty sure they don't. I know it's 100% different from the original Bruiser because I had one, but looking at images of this trans and the new trans, they looked different. The truck looks fine. No, it does. The truck's beautiful. I put this body on my Trailfinder all the time. I have an adapter. The Trailfinder body and the Bruiser HGP 407 body do not swap because these mounts are different. So I have a bracket under here that I use for my Trailfinder. So this drops onto the Trailfinder and without a problem. So I use it on there quite often. But yeah, I always hesitate. 29 116. Oh, you guys are too nice. So yeah, I always hesitate when people want one of these because wait a minute. Oh God, I just lost that. How do you show the messages? Why does it keep going away? Why don't I know things? Messages? Bloody hell. Sorry guys, I'm trying. I haven't done this horizontally yet before and I can't find the messages. I'll have to come over. Can someone just re-message that about the German bearings? I'll try and read it faster this time. I believe this truck is all bushing as well. I've never, like I said, I've never torn this thing apart. Like, yes, they are. They are definitely harder than they look. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this truck because, like I said, I like this better than my Bruiser. But I did have an original Bruiser, and those are starting to get kind of old and finicky. And I run my stuff a lot. I don't abuse anything. Like this has got, I don't know what, 500 packs through it, and things perfect. But my stuff gets run, and I kind of like doing that. At some point, where German. Oh, it absolutely is the same mold. I have one upstairs. I don't have the new one, but I have the old one, and it's absolutely identical. In fact, that's one of my complaints about the 131 is that the 600 body is bigger than the 131, which annoys me to all ends. So anyway, there's the HGP 407. If you're fixed on getting one of these, this is the truck to get. The Bruiser, again, they're overpriced. If you want to modify it and use it on the trail, absolutely neither of them. You need a Trailfinder 2, without a doubt. These are worthless on any kind of crawling out there. People will argue with me and have, but logically speaking, Trailfinder 2 is the way to go. Good morning. I'm the one that's asking about the toy whatever. Oh, hey, John. How you doing, man? Okay, so that's the Bruiser. Any other questions on an RC car that I would have within grabbing distance, which is quite a few of them, actually. I'm going to try and put this back so it's out of the way. Sorry, give me 1 second. He's big. Get back into your little nook. Everything is sitting on little stands so that the tires don't go flat. For those of you, hang on a second. I'm going to do something real fast. We're going to go live. We're going to go guerrilla style here. Anybody was wondering how much I love Fiat 131s. Where's my little flippy thing? King Blackfoot. All right, good idea. That's an unloved car. Where's my little flippy? There it is. Okay, so this is my Wall O cars. These are all 1/43rd scale, and I have a problem. Okay, Fiat 131, 131, 131, 131, 131, 131. Right there. That's not it. 131 right there, and that's just the ones here. There's quite a few. Like I said, I like 131s. In fact, there's my, weirdly, I don't have the Alitalia one. I do have a couple of them down here. I've got a 1-to-1, which I own that 1-to-1, I own that 1-to-1, and I own, where's the Abarth? That one, 1-to-1. I've got a problem in general when it comes to cars, but King Blackfoot, that is a good call. Let's grab him. And I likely missed. Oh, trust me, that's nothing. I've got quite a few more. King Blackfoot, you are right there. So most of the cars I usually keep in bags on the shelves partly because we're doing some construction right now, and the studio is having some work done. There you go. And I don't like my stuff getting dusty. All right. Here's the King Blackfoot. So, a little history on this. Do I have a My Car series? No, I don't. I don't have a My Car series, and I don't have a buyer's guide, but I have to. Since you have a King, which one would you recommend as a hiking buddy? Trailfinder 2. Sorry, Trailfinder 2. I like both of those things, Phoenix. The trail for hiking, which my Tamiya Hilux High Lift, which nobody should ever buy, ever. Worst RC. Mine's amazing. They're terrible. But that truck has been on every hike I've ever done since 2007. It's been all over Yosemite. It's been Mount Diablo. It's been everywhere. The Trailfinder 2 is much, much better because, it's a better truck. I love that truck. I think it's a little bit on the loud side, as my wife has complained from time to time. So when we do go to more, I guess, scenic areas, since you pick on Instagram where you find it Albert from the convention. All right, cool. Thank you. I do tend to, I hate to say this, the TRX4, they are silent. Absolutely make no noise whatsoever. The SCX-10-2 is really good, but now that I've got kids, the kids want to drive RC cars too, which means it's just too hard to bring 3 or 4 full-size RC cars. So now I just bring a whole bunch of WPLs and FMS cars. They're quiet, they're capable, and I can shove 4 of those in a spot the same size as one Tamiya High Lift or the Trailfinder. So, sorry, long-winded reply. King Blackfoot. I am the original owner of this vehicle. I've owned it since it was brand spanking new, and this truck has seen a lot of hell. It's been on racetracks, it's been submerged in mud, it's been launched off of everything, and it's been great. This is not, this is not the original body. This is a body I bought at the hobby shop for my Blackfoot. So what you can't tell anymore, there's a hole here that I drove for the Blackfoot. But you can see you see in the bed, this giant hole there? You can see the other one right there. Those are holes for the factory Blackfoot, the regular Blackfoot body mounts, and I would put spacers on there to basically secure to those. Its original body is box art, and it's mint. That one is in a bin of box art bodies that I have, nicely secured. But this is the body that I kind of run with this truck all the time. I mean, I've run this body for years. I painted it. This is all hand done, by the way, all hand sketched. It was red for years. Then I had a girlfriend in college who I just don't want to talk about right now. But we'd be on the phone for hours with her talking and me ignoring. My God, just awful. Reliving this crap now. I remember one time we were, thanks for the replies. The TF2 is a great truck. It really is. So I was on the phone with her. I covered the truck in masking tape and started drawing. And then I drew the flames, cut the flames out, and then I had white, silver, and like an ice blue metallic. So I sprayed the front white. This is silver. This is ice blue. And then I used to me, I still have some. It's this, what's that metallic clear coat called? I forgot. Completely gone blank. Anyway, I used a metallic clear coat. Sorry, I'm trying to plug this one back again. To spray over the whole truck, which is why this looks a little bit more yellowy now. Pearl. It was pearl. To use airbrushes. This is all spray can, believe it or not. All spray can. I've gotten good at spray can. I do have an airbrush as well. I've used that a number of times. I'm just really good at spray cans, and they're just a lot easier oftentimes. So yeah, this thing really came out good. Again, it has a lot of miles. Pull the body off of it. It does have the AMPRO taillights. These lights also work, by the way. Like Hemistorm. Oh, Hemistorm is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay, it's a little bit plugged in. So these taillights do work. These are the lenses are AMPRO. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Taillights are AMPRO designs. They're available from Shapeways. Haven't done too much on this vehicle. It is running its stock silver can. Probably a Airtronics or... No, it's got a Futaba... Wait, why is... It's not plugged in. Oh, that's right. This truck is getting some work done. I forgot about that. This was an Airtronics car. It has a Novak Duster 2 speed control that it's had since it was new. It does have full bearings. Otherwise, it's not all that modified. These are associated shocks, which this is a weird thing. Anybody that's owned an ORV car, I don't care if it's a Frog, Blackfoot, King Blackfoot, Bush Devil, whatever. There's one thing they all have in common, and it's a strange thing because they're different. All of them have horrendous front suspension. Probably the least worst of the bunch is the Frog, weirdly enough. The Blackfoot front suspension, geometrically speaking, doesn't really absorb shocks that well. And then the King Blackfoot, which is completely redesigned, is somehow worse. I've never understood. You want to see some bump steer? Check this out. I mean, the thing basically goes completely cross-eyed when you hit a bump. And remember, this is newer than the Blackfoot. Oh, crap. I just saw that text. Sorry, who just sent a text? Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. It does this weird thing, too, that when you drive the car, it's horrible. It's horrible. When you drive the car, you'll drive it, jump it, land. The rear end takes the impact very nicely. The front end, it does this thing where it kind of does this every time. It lands and does this. And I've tried the factory shocks. I've tried these associated shocks. I've tried upgraded Tamiya shocks. I've tried different oil. Now the wheels, the tires don't help. That's for certain. But, oh my God. So we will be doing a full redesign on the front end of this truck because I hate it. We're doing a full redesign on the entire ORV. Frog, Brat, Lancia, and then the big three, the Blackfoot, Monster Beetle, and Brat. Whole front end in the garbage, completely redesigned. I'm just done with stupidity now. So that's what we're gonna do. But I do have to say though that I love the King Blackfoot. It's a great truck. It's one of my all-time favorites. It used to get driven a lot. Then I actually ran into a serious problem. It would munch its way. My Hornet submission is still stock. It handles like a marshmallow. Maybe 20 years to get sick. Hornet. Okay, so there's two things there to decompress. The Hornet is terrible, but it's terrible in an endearing way. Just kind of like the ORVs are kind of terrible in an endearing way also. They're great and bad. This one here is a little different. It's annoying. Like, the fact that the front tires are needed to steer and that they're almost always in the air is just odd. I don't know what the deal is, but that is what it is. So, yeah, we should be getting some work done to this pretty soon. I'm pretty excited about that. It is a great truck. Do you have your Monster Beetle or Blackfoot? Yes, I do. Hang on. I have, they're all, wait, who's missing? No, they're all here. Yeah, they're all here. What do you want? Actually, let me grab, I love the Brat too. Absolutely love the Brat. Okay, let me grab the Blackfoot. Give me a second. I'm putting him back in his baggie. I have all these cars sitting on little stands in their horrible baggies. Okay. I will get the Blackfoot. Okay. So, I think I've done a My Car. No, I haven't. Maybe I haven't done a My Car series on this. Quick story on this vehicle. This was brand new. I got this for $7, 7 or 15. A brat body. Yeah, I don't. John, I saw your low white pumpkin. That one's cool. The brat's weird because I also don't like how it looks on the chassis, but it has the giant wheel arch cutouts, so it's hard to make it look good not on that chassis. But I have a plan for that one that I'm currently working on the side as well. So I bought this off a guy that went to my friend's high school. What the hell is that? What is that? Some weird little black spot. I'm off to work, have money to pay. Have a good day at work. He had a 71 or 72 Camaro, beautiful car, but he had a Blackfoot that he did not know how to put together. So I bought this car off of him in absolutely ridiculous shape. Like, he just had screws in the wrong places. He had the transmission assembled wrong. He had stuff bolted in. It was really, really weird. Body was unpainted, so I had this truck for years and years and years, just in a box, because I didn't know what to do with it. In about 2011, I tried selling it. I had it all put together, mint, never driven, body unpainted, mint, and it hit like 60. Yeah, I know, I love this body style. It hit like $60 on eBay, so I'm like, F that. I'm not gonna sell this for nothing. So out of spite, I finished it. A friend of mine, Dan, he's Tamiya Man Dan on Tamiya Club, had one of these in yellow, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. So that's what I did. I just copied his design. I painted this in yellow. The decals are reproduction from a company that no longer exists. It's not MCI. And then the first thing I did was drive it. Started driving it. In fact, actually, my buddy Dan, I have plans. Oh, planes. I agree. The Hornet's one of my favorites also. It's a brilliant car. Dan, who I got the inspiration of. Oh, very nice. I'm glad to hear it. These are great. He came over. I was showing him this. And he was cracking up because it looks just like his. And he was asking me if I had a new skid plate. I said, yeah, on this. So I gave him my mint skid plate, and I replaced it with a nice hammered one, as it should be. So now it's got some scratches like it deserves. Oh, crappy dog bones. The old dog bones, yeah, they're not great. I can't say that Tamiya did any better with the new CVDs. They're kind of stupid they're kind of ridiculous. So anyway, this is pretty much a vintage build, all full bearings, of course. It has a weird ESC. Let me show that to you. It also has a full interior. This has the AMPRO interior set, which I have on a number of my vehicles, most famously on Project Ted. Oh, okay. So this has an Aristocraft SP 2040R. There is an Aristocraft car called the Kangaroo. It's called the Kangaroo. Look up Aristocraft Kangaroo. There's some weird crap sitting on the back of the car. That's this. This is the ESC. It is weird. It has reverse, and it's got to be from the early 80s. Works fine. It's got a factory black end bell motor with a... I'm going to redesign my RV wheel suspension as well. Please, yes. And just the whole RV is such a tragic case. Got a vintage little motor heatsink. It's got the old, I think, CRP rear sway bar. These are re-release black oil-filled shocks. Kangaroo and the Dolphin, absolutely. I've always wanted one of those, even though they're horrible. They just look so cool. I went with the re-release shocks because I wanted to keep them black. And it also has, you can see there, it has an MSC, a mechanical speed control. I do this on as many cars as possible, purely because I used to have a drawer. I like in some of the rings. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so the reason, and people, I've had a so many people complain about that. Why my cars have mechanical speed controls and electronic speed controls, and it's very simple. I had, see one of these drawers, overflowing with mechanical speed controls. I hate them. I don't run them, but I don't want to throw them out. And I needed the drawer. So what I did is I just threw all of those MSCs in every car that I could possibly put them in, and it emptied out the drawer. And not only that, it completely depleted several of my other drawers that had parts that Tamiya cars would usually use to mount ESCs. And yeah, if you look under here, you'll notice it has 2 servos. Oh my God, the MRP High Roller. That is old school. I know what you're talking about. The reason it has 2 servos is that there's 1 steering servo and 1 mechanical speed control servo. You have the Kangaroo? Wow, that's crazy. I've never seen one in person. The other servo is a broken servo that I had. And I've got tons and tons of broken servos. Yeah, I could take them apart and recycle them, or I could just throw them in the car where they're doing nothing. Yeah, they're adding weight, but it could definitely use it. Anyway, here's the Blackfoot. I don't know if you can see this well. I'm going to try. Here is the AMPRO Blackfoot in AMPRO F-150 interior. You see that? This is a pretty basic one. A lot of my other cars, they're fully operational with lights and all that, and it's hard to see it in there. Project Ted, which I can grab also if anybody's interested. That one has a pair of vice grips on the window crank. Anybody who grew up in the 90s probably had a friend, or probably even before that, probably had a friend with a car that had a pair of vice grips as a window crank or a door handle, and that's what I did on that car. So yeah, this is a fairly stock build. I think it has my zero bump steer uprights. Does it? It does. Oh, it does, yeah. I need it with lighted oh yeah, the lighted dashboard is the only way to go. So these actually have the zero bump steer front spindles. You can see that there's almost none. There's some, but not like factory where you go up and they basically touch in the middle. Considering buying your spare parts and upgrades in the Blackfoot one day. So, you know, one thing I do want to mention to everybody is, and I've had to, you know, kind of tell this to a lot of people before, I don't want anybody to think that a damn thing I make is necessary for any cars that you want. I've had someone, oh, I want to buy a Hornet, but I have to spend all this money to do all these upgrades. You don't. You absolutely don't. You can buy the car and enjoy it just the way it is. I happen to be there along with lots of other talented people out there. I happen to be here making upgrade parts for these cars. And should a certain element of the vehicle become a bit annoying, well, then you can upgrade it. But I think job one, buy it and play with it as is. Get to enjoy the car as intended, because then you'll get a better understanding of, okay, this really sucks and it's pissing me off. Or I can't see what the hell's wrong with AMPRO. This thing's fine. There's pros and cons to both sides of these things, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that these are toys, and these not being very good is also what makes them great. If they were professional and incredible, you know, they wouldn't be as fun. You know, these are toys, and you should laugh when you make a right turn and it rolls over out of the blue because it has stupid steering geometry. That should make you laugh. So yes, I make everything for that car, which is a great segue into here's Project Mud Blaster. Let me snag him. By the way, feel free and chime in if you want to see a certain car, and if it's nearby, I can grab it. Let me grab Project Mud Blaster. Project Mud Blaster is a good one because I still will occasionally get the random person who chimes in and goes, 3D printed parts are crap. So like when your phone rings, was the Mad Bull the worst thing? No, the Mad Bull was weird. I don't care for it. But again, there's a certain charm to it. Um, yeah, I don't have one, but I've seen them out and about, and they look like fun. I feel certain people, when it comes to 3D printed parts, are stuck in like 15 years ago. I can't understand Kyosho Muni's fan. Oh my God, those, I remember those. Um, you know, so that they think 3D printed parts are either really expensive, they're really crappy, or they're really ugly. The fact of the matter is that's all true if you're looking at the wrong things for the wrong application. So this car here is bumper to bumper SLS nylon. SLS nylon was and still is the most expensive form of plastic 3D printing. It is also one of the most robust. So you see it's got the AMPRO body mount. Oh, I'll tell you more about MIP. That's got some fun stuff talking about with them right now. So the suspension is better on this, but that's to say that COVID was better than malaria. So yeah, it's better, but not by much. And at the rear is where we're going to have the real change. This is the AMPRO double wishbone rear suspension. So all of the factory suspension went in the toilet, and I redesigned everything to be double wishbone. This completely takes away the weird driving dynamics on this car where you make a right turn, this side collapses completely, the front tire goes up in the air, and you lose all steering. So with this rear end, I've ruined the Blackfoot, right? It's no longer behaves like a Blackfoot or an ORV in general. It behaves like a different car, and it behaves well. Well, at least this half behaves well. It's still attached to this half, which we've got to address at some point. One major problem was, does it get rid of the rear hop? Yeah, absolutely. You no longer see that weirdness because it no longer has the trailing arms. It also gets rid of the clicking from overextending the dog bones, the CVDs, pardon me, because the CVDs and the axles all pivot at the same points, or close enough anyway. So they no longer slide in and out like they did with the trailing arms. What was I going to say? Oh, the original transmission on this vehicle was not a load-bearing member. It just kind of hung out there. So when I effectively attached a bunch of crap to it, I had to reinforce it. So the transmission is now rigidly attached using both of these holes over here to this section down here, which fixes the whole back of the car to a load-bearing member on the chassis. But that also means you no longer have your battery door. So that is now from the side. You pop these pins off, battery slides in from the side, and you're good to go. I also added these skid plates. I added this for reinforcement. This is quite similar to the old CRP one, but I did make it a little bit stronger. And then I had a hole in the middle, so I put something in it. I have the Thorpe diff installed, just need to strengthen it up. Be careful with the Thorpe diff. They're falling apart left and right now. They are better than the factory diff, but they're still ancient technology. I used to have several, and they were all just slipping, and I ended up just getting rid of all of them. I sold my Thorpe diffs for so much money that each one sold bought me 2 MIPs. Madness. So yeah, there's Project Mud Blaster. There's a lot of footage of this truck. I am not nice to this car. This thing is, the only time it ever goes out is to NorCal Hobbies. It's the only time this vehicle ever goes out. I run this Parma body. This is not cosmetic. This is actually there to help with the body flexing in the middle, to make it a little stronger, and it's worked out very well. And I've got 2 old drivers in there because, again, I'm all about getting crap out of the drawer. I've also reinforced these entire areas with 1 millimeter thick polycarbonate attached with a metric ton of shugu. So the body is very, very rigid. So yeah, it's a rock solid little truck. These are actually not the wheels that it usually has. I sold those because apparently they were extremely rare tires, and a friend of mine wanted them, and I said, fine, you can have them. So I sent them to him. So yeah, there's here is Project Mud Blaster with not a Mud Blaster body. All right, who else wants to see something here? Let me shove this guy back over there. Go in your home. There you go. Let's see here. In the meantime, what can I take out? We can only take out the Grasshopper. One of my very few. Have you had a Marui? Oh God, funny you should ask that. I've had several, and everyone was a pile of crap. The 9.5. Okay, let me get back to the 9.5 knives shortly. I've all of them have been terrible, and oh my God, a Claude. Okay, let me answer all of your questions. Okay. I do have Show Dog's Hornet. I do have. I'll pull that out next. I'm going to start with the Big Bear, and then I'll go into the other two questions, and then I'll talk about this, and I'll get Show Dog's Hornet. Okay. So the Marui Big Bear is beautiful. I actually have a new old stock Datsun body for it. Oh yeah, I've got the hot shots here too. And all the ones I've had were terrible, so I never did much to them. I ended up selling them all off. There's a possibility in the future I might snag one to build parts for, but I've never been really in love with that truck, even though that I've got friends that have them. I think they're really cool. I just have never snagged one. I do have a Marui, though. I have the Coors Melling T-Bird. Okay, Porsche 959. So a few weeks ago, I did have one. Those are both with Scale Builders Guild. Now, he bought those off a friend of mine. One was new old stock completely, and one was very lightly run. The Brat is... Oh, I don't know why. I've never been a fan of either of those cars, partly because I'm not a Porsche fan. So that's kind of why. And on top of that, I have seen many of them, and they are so brittle. I've never bothered with them. So that's why I don't have a 959. Clodbuster. Oh my God, the Clodbuster. So I did talk about this in an earlier video. I had a friend of mine, very, 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 very good friend of mine, Artie, who passed away a few years ago, and Artie had a Clodbuster, and it was such a piece of crap. I don't want to get into what he did to that Clodbuster, but as a result of his horrible treatment of the Clodbuster, I hated it. I've always hated it. So it's his fault that I hate the Clodbuster. Absolutely his fault. Never owned one. I've never even driven one, and I hate the Clodbuster. Couldn't tell you why, but it's Artie's fault. This thing. So mostly stock Grasshopper, AMPRO battery door, because I want the battery to stay there. It's got all the Grasshopper upgrades I make. And then I just recently added my AMPRO wheels because it was looking too box art, and I had to annoy people on Tamiya Club. So that is job one. I do love these slot mag-esque wheels. These are printed in ABS-like resin. Clodbusters are the best, and we're yes, they are. So that's this. Show Dog's Hornet. Let me get that. Okay, so my buddy Jim, Show Dog. Anybody who knows, honestly, even newcomers to the hobby probably have seen his builds. I'm weird, as I'm sure many of you have realized. Getting a good BB. We'll talk about the BBX. Actually, I'm glad Phoenix is here, so we'll talk about that in a bit. Show Dog had some amazing cars, and when I was helping his son clear out all of his toys and all that, I did buy a semi truck off of him, but the semi truck was actually built by another guy. Which was a Grasshopper. Good. Yeah, Grasshoppers in general are just outstanding little cars. But I didn't really buy anything from Jim because, I was trying to help his son, and I was trying to get as much as I possibly could for these cars because I knew what his dad had put into them, and I knew that his son was going to go through hell. I mean, just losing your dad's one thing so young, but the fact that he had so many RC cars, I didn't really ask about buying anything. I was just kind of stuck trying to get him as much money as I could for some of these cars. And so I was probably at his dad's house for, I would say, 8 or 9 days, just going through everything and contacting people and people buying this, buying that. And I mean, he sold nearly everything that he didn't want to keep. And the last day, I was helping him box this up. And his son just said, "Here you go, man. I want you to have it." And I don't want, it's honestly hard for me to talk about because, you know, I was very close to Jim. But he gave me this car. And of Jim's collection, this is likely one of the least customized. But this was the one car that I would always sit there and look at. Jim had millions of posts of all of his builds, and then there was always this Hornet. And it's pretty simple. I mean, it's got a CRP front tower, CRP front shocks. It's got the CRP Nerf bars. This paint job, I don't know where the wing came from. Someone had mentioned it once before. These are aluminum headlights, but the body otherwise, I think is, I mean, the chassis is, yeah, it's stock. It's dead stock. It's an original Hornet. Tires are shot, you know, they're all kind of tearing apart because it's just been sitting for decades. I think it's new. No, it looks like some parts are new, but some parts have been used. Thing is, like, Jim and I talked about this car for many years because I would always show him my parts, and he'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on Shapeways and buy all these parts." And I kept telling him, "No, like, I don't want you to buy. I'll give you all these parts. I'll give you all these parts." I never did. And yeah, I totally hear you there. I never gave him the parts, and it always upset me that he never turned the car into what he wanted to. So his son gave me the car, and the goal with this vehicle is it's going to get as many AMPRO parts as I can cram onto it without altering the car's cosmetics. It's going to stay looking like this, because I've always said that this is the Mona Lisa of Hornets. I think it's gorgeous. I don't know why. In fact, even Jim used to tell me that all the time. He's like, "I don't know why you think it's so special. It's just a two-color paint job." But there was always something about this car. So, yeah, it was very, very special when his son gave it to me, because he literally just handed it to me and said, "Thank you." And I don't think he realizes that he wasn't handing me a $90 toy car. He was handing me something not only priceless, but something that is, you know, it'll go off to my kids one day. You know, it's the fact of the matter is that, you know, it's there's tons of other of my own cars I would sell before this thing goes anywhere. So the Show Dog Hornet, absolute little gem over here. So we will have a build series on this. There is one video where I spruced it up a little bit, but it needs a lot. It's never run. It's got bushings. The car's pretty crusty. Someone asked about the hot shot, so I'm going to go get the hot shot, which is on the other side of my little rack. Hang on a second. I will continue to talk loudly in the meantime. Hot shot is, I just saw it right there, falling over. Here's the hot shot. So my friend gave me this. He asked me if I made hot shot parts, and I said no. He said, "Why?" I said, "Because the hot shot is stupid." And then he said, "I'm sending you something." And he sent me a hot shot. So the problem is that he knows how I am. Like those of you who've been on the call since the beginning, sometimes I build stuff out of spite. And this is one vehicle that was built purely out of disgust. The car was not in bad shape, and yet every single A-arm was broken. This was before the re-release hot shot. So I redesigned all the suspension. So everything here, front, rear, arms, all 100% AMPRO designed. They look just like the factory arms. What about the Fox? You know, I don't have a Fox. I've had pieces of a Fox, but I don't have a Fox. Because these are nylon, they won't break anymore. I mean, they're not going to split at the pins like the factory ones will. This thing's been run quite a bit, and it's a rock solid little runner. What I never did is get rid of the stock front and rear shock. They're terrible. The rear shock is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and yet that's what I would have done. This is absolutely the design that I would have done to the rear suspension. It's absolutely over-engineered and ridiculous, and I love it. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But yeah, I think it's really cool. So body-wise, I never thought the Hot Shot looked good at all, ever. I never liked the look of the Hot Shot. So what I did like is the look of the one that the body Thundershot, is that what it is? There's too many of those cars. So I put this body on significantly wrong and realized that it was sitting too high. So then I found this Supershot body on eBay. I put that on and I did something to it. So yeah, the car is a mess, and hence it's called Project Thunder Dragon. That's what it is. It's a mess, and I think that it works. It's I have wheels that I'm going to put on. I have 3D printed ones. Hang on, someone's he just asked about the WPLC or B36 trailer. I would say about a month. There's a few parts that are not done yet, and I've got to get on those. Also, funny story, this is the prototype car that MIP used to build the MIP ball diffs. So the ball diffs on this car are the prototype ball diffs from MIP, and as a result, it's hard to see, but they're not the usual anodized black. They're kind of a weird, slightly rusty black oxide. So this does have the MIP front and rear ball diffs, which are beautiful. We managed to shift about 500 of those. They weren't, I mean, the campaign was a success, but not like the Blackfoot ball diff that we designed. That one's still in production. They've sold tens of thousands. It's insane. So yeah, here's the hot shot. It's a weird car, and I kind of like it now. I don't know where this is from. It was like I said, my buddy Chris gave it to me. I've had it for years now, and the MIP ball diffs were really helpful because when this car would lean over in turns, the inside tires would lift and just lose all speed. I put a really, really thick grease in the MIP ball diffs, and as a result, it's a lot better on turns. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not really great at the track because it's got terrible shocks. So although it has gone to the track, you know, modern RC car tracks, the jumps are 10 feet tall, and hot shots don't care for that. So yeah, Project Hot Mess. There you go. I think he follows in his name. Okay. Dash 1 Emperor is I know that car. I know that car. That's a Nico, right? Oh, thank you so much. Any other cars you guys would like to see? Like I said, I'm near quite a few. If nobody says anything, I'm just gonna start taking out Superflies. I still like how this came out. It's such a weird looking thing. What's funny is that most of the body is it's still underneath. Oh my gosh. I'll get you out of the way. Let's see. Well, I warned you. No one said anything. So Superfly is coming out because why not? BBX. Someone mentioned, was that John? Radio Shack Audi Quattro. I need a car that I have. I know that car, but I don't unfortunately have that car. John asked me if I'm gonna get a BBX. So I drove Phoenix's BBX. Both of you actually were at Proline by the Fire. I was pretty blown away by that car. I have peculiar feelings about the BBX, which is why I haven't bought one. However, performance-wise, blown away. I'm blown away by how good it is. And I'm convinced that Tamiya did not design that. Either they didn't design it or somebody else. Oh, I'm sorry. Someone with blood that still flows and isn't gelatinous designed it, because it just doesn't look and feel like a Tamiya at all. It looks like a completely new vehicle. So that's impressive. One of the reasons why I never bought it, I know the car, and I agree with you. It is hideous and yet beautiful. So the reason I never bought that car was because I've got this. And I've built Superfly. This car, even though it's not available yet, it's my own stupid fault. I've got to stop other bloody projects is the problem. XL. Oh, you want to see the giant Trailfinder 2? Yeah, it's sitting right here. I can grab that, no problem. But it's your own fault that no one said that sooner, because now I'm gonna talk about Superfly for a minute. Superfly was my dream off-road Tamiya, and it finally occurred, and I love it. So that's kind of why I never bought a BBX, because I felt that I already had one. And when it comes to buggies, there are a few buggies that I find attractive, and the Hornet I find absolutely gorgeous. And as a result, you know, it's hard for me to even consider another RC car because I want this. Oh yeah, I do have a wild one. You know, let me show the wild one off because no one ever asks about that car, and then I'll get the Trailfinder. You put Superfly away, you go back to your home. Let me get the wild, wait, I'm sorry. Did you say wild one? I think you say wild one. I don't. I have a fast attack. Let me get mine. Same car. I never bought the fast attack because I didn't like the polycarbonate body on it. So I went with the wild one. Ow. Okay. I went with the wild one because it is all ABS plastic. Wait, am I on crack right now? No, I went with the fast attack. Yeah, fast attack. Because I wanted all the ABS plastic. However, I don't like the military theme, so you know, we did this. So there's the fast attack. This thing has been driven a lot. The blood. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I've seen that one. It's a pretty cool color combo. So yeah, here's the AMPRO fast attack. The shocks on this vehicle are very rare fast attack upgrade shocks. They're not wild one because they're black, and these are metal shocks, but they were designed for the fast attack when this thing first came out. I'm sorry, when the re-release first came out. I went with purple because I felt that purple was the exact opposite of military. Then I had a ton of spray cans on my shelf that were like barely full. I had red, a lighter purple, whatever color that is, blue, and green. And that's what we did. We just fogged a whole bunch of different colors on it. They're on the side as well. And then over all of that was a Tamiya iridescent color. So this thing in the sun is impossible to look at. It's just like this series of colors. Then I decided that we needed lights. So these work. These are AMPRO design lights, AMPRO bumper with lights, AMPRO roof. This is not the kit roof. The kit roof is open. So I made a roof to match the front hood, made a roll bar, made those work. The taillights work, and we couldn't go all that way without having James's engine. So that's the Night Customs engine. Then we needed the driver to lose his military look, and he needed a Hawaiian shirt. So he is wearing a Hawaiian shirt. There are also a number, you can't really see them, there's a number of fiber optics on the dash that signify whether the car is on, the status of the receiver, and the lights. So there's just 3 fiber optics on the dash. They don't really show that much. There's a few things, like there's this mesh thing back here I 3D printed. I had to have this wing. I get a lot of people, and maybe it's just because of where I grew up, a lot of people telling me the wing is ridiculous. And yeah, absolutely it is. That's the point. Does anybody remember semi-trucks and pickup trucks in the 80s, I'm sure it was before that as well, where they would use these as wind deflectors on the cabs of the semis and on the cabs of pickup trucks? I saw these all the time. I haven't seen one in 1,000 years, but these were all over the place, and I just thought they looked ridiculous. And as a result, I absolutely needed it. So yes, it is stupid. That's why it's there. Why else would I have put it there? Wheels and tires, you may have seen before. Michael Platypus has these wheels and tires. Yeah, and in the back of the bag, exactly. In South Carolina. Yeah, I'm in California, and they were all over the place here. I think it was an American thing to do. These wheels and tires are SLS nylon. There's a set on Michael Platypus's Sand Scorcher build and a few of his other cars. Night Customs actually has got a couple of sets of these on some of his builds as well. So you need slot mags as far as I'm concerned. Stock. It's got bearings. Nothing too crazy about the electronics. And then the motor does have this black one. I forget what it is. I don't know that it came with it, but I put the black motor in here partly because it kind of blended away and you saw more engine and less electronics. These are great cars. I've never driven a stock friction hinged friction sprung starting over. I've never driven a stock friction sprung one before. Hornet's my fighting buggy. Super Champ. You know what's weird is I don't have a Super Champ. I have something close. This thing has been in the dirt, but it's never been treated like an off-road buggy, I guess. I've jumped it plenty of times. It's a great car to drive. I have to admit, it's competent, it's easy, and it looks bloody fantastic. This is probably one of Tamiya's best looking buggies, and this thing's gorgeous. It does have the same diff as the Blackfoot, although it doesn't have the same problems, partly because smaller rear tires and the fact that the injection molded plastic cases actually hold it together better than the stamped aluminum ones that the Blackfoot had. So yeah, Fast Attack. I love this car. It really is a nice car. Cannot recommend it more. It's a great car. Okay, let me pull out the long Trailfinder 2. So funny story about this. I was going to bring it to Proline by the Fire this year. And a friend of mine was asking me what cars I was bringing. So I told him all the cars he was bringing. And he replied with a list of cars that I should bring and why I should not bring a number of others. And this car was one of the cars. And I'm like, why not the long Trailfinder? I said, people love that car. And his reply was, nobody likes that car. And he's right. It's not that nobody likes the Trailfinder or a long Trailfinder. It's that nobody likes this Trailfinder. And I think the reason is, those of you, oh, thanks by the way, Phoenix. Those of you who follow my builds, one of the things I do with my Trailfinders in general is ruin them. I lower them, I put smaller wheels and tires on them, and I add about 300 tons of weight to them, and it makes them, according to some, less capable. Now, I do have one relatively stock Trailfinder, and I'm trying to leave it that way. But this one here, yeah, I lowered it significantly. I stretched it significantly. And I added hundreds of tons of weight between me and RC every day. I believe it. So, but what makes this special is actually the AMPRO stretch kit that I made for it. That's actual weight. When I bought this truck, I knew immediately that I wanted the long bed. Well, I shouldn't say the long bed. Let's be very clear about this. This is the 6-foot bed of the Hilux. There is a long bed version, which was 7-foot, which is what my real Hilux has. But that was never molded for one of these smaller kids. This was the longest bed you could get, which was the 6-foot bed. Now, the crew cab truck came with a shorter bed, which was shortened right in here. I don't know what the actual size of that bed was lengthwise, but it's commonly referred to as, this is the long bed, that was the short bed. I wanted the longer one on the crew cab, which was difficult because the crew cab already had the long wheelbase chassis. That's where I got the idea, John, was the Yamahauler. Absolutely. So to get the long wheelbase, I either would have had to chop the chassis in the middle, where it would be its weakest, so that I wouldn't have to redo stuff at the back, or 4-link the entire rear end. And all these different alternatives were costing more and more and more money and more complexity. And I'm like, I just bought this. So I decided to say, screw all of that. I forget, people ask me all the time. I don't remember how much longer this is. It's on the video where I install this. I talk about all that there. So if we flip it over at the rear, and I purposely didn't paint these, all these gray pieces right here, there's 1, 2, three. There's actually five. There's the middle bracket and one on each side there and one on each side there. It's pretty idiot proof. All I did was take the original mounting points and just move it this way, X value. Again, I forgot what that value was exactly. That's it. So they're in their exact same locations. They're just shoved down toward the rear of the truck. I want to say 29 millimeters, something like that. So it's the factory rear suspension, the factory metal bracket back here for the back of the Trailfinder's factory, the shock mounting points factory, all the metal's still there, factory leaf springs, all of it. The only thing I had to modify was the drive shaft. I don't know where the hell I bought this. Where you get your Tamiya fix, I hear it. I don't know where I got this drive shaft, but it's hit. What the hell? I have the plastic drive shaft in the front. Oh, that is weird. Oh, I can show the pink one at any time. No problems right here. So yeah, that is what we've done. This also has the AMPRO body mounts. So you pull these 4 pins, the whole body comes off. It's really easy. It has the AMPRO fuel cell at the rear, and all that's there for is to just store stuff in it. I have the receiver and the ESC in the back. There's some random stuff here and there. This also has the RC 4-wheel drive interior, where I modified it to actually make all the lights work. There's a video where I cover all that. AMPRO roll bar, AMPRO bull bar, AMPRO rear bumper, AMPRO wheels. 4 people in the cab, including a baby. So yeah, I love this truck. It's terrible. I've ruined it because now it's gigantic, and there's a low point in the middle. Bauhaus RC makes a lift kit for the transfer case that I just haven't installed it. That actually gains a little more than 10 millimeters. This truck, although has been on many trails, isn't a very good trail truck. I have a version of this that is lowered like this of the Trailfinder, and it's rock solid, but the added length just kind of makes it a little less usable. But I still do try and rack miles up on it, because I mean, it was expensive. Oh God, I don't know. I'm pretty fast with my builds. That's why all too many people will notice things like, why are your tires put on backwards? Or why do you have wiring exposed? I don't have time for that. I gotta get cars done. So unfortunately, my speed tends to, I don't want to say cut corners, but there's certain areas that I overlook. But this has been always a really, really rock solid truck, and I think it looks fantastic. I love this build. This is all airbrush, by the way. It's all airbrush, using these little Tamiya Textures paints. It came out great. It's a really, really nice build. It's hard to tell, but this is orange, red, and purple. Yellow body, of course, and all the trim is in black. I like the red roll bar. I like the red wheels. I'm a big fan of pushing bounds in terms of colors because I want to make things look unique. I failed plenty of times on picking weird colors, but occasionally there's a success story. So yeah, it's also got a red interior because, again, color. Let me grab the pink Hornet. Where is it? I thought it was here. Uh-oh, hang on a second. Where is it? I know my daughter had it a couple days ago. We went on a walk, and I don't see it. Okay, let me take one look. Hang on a second. It's got to be here. It's the only place they ever go. No. Ah, here it is. There you go. It's next to the RC10. Okay. So this is my daughter's Hornet. I actually built this for her before she was born. It is a mostly new Hornet. I think that I had a bunch of new parts, so I just kind of put it together out of mostly new parts. I did the wheels in pink because why not? I got lucky because she actually does like the color pink. And what else? Oh, it has the AMPRO double wishbone suspension. Battery door, of course, battery door. Body, interior. Okay, so does it have it even has a little pink driver. I don't know where that came from. I must have painted that. The electronics. This is an interesting one. The TEU 104BK. Oh, well, thank you very much. The TEU 104BK is a Tamiya ESC that's awful. Part of why it's awful is it doesn't register LiPos, and secondly, I don't know if you can see this here. You see the receiver? Where's the receiver? Right there. See the receiver? There are 3 things plugged in. One is a servo, one is the ESC, and the last is a power plug. Right here. See this red one? It's JST. A pink Traxxas Bandit. Fantastic. This ESC actually is powered by the receiver. So you've got to plug in this JST connector into the ESC's battery port to get the car to turn on. I had no idea. They have pink tires for the Watanabe Hornet, which I've got. So it's a weird ESC. It still requires a LiPo cutoff alarm. It's just stupid, absolutely dumb. It works fine. It's still running a 380 motor back here, just because, you know, she's still little, so keep it a little bit more, a little simpler for her. This also has the AMPRO transmission brace. I get a lot of questions about that. People telling me, oh well, if you brace the transmission, then the rolling rigid rear axle doesn't work. Wrong. That is what separates my design from all the copycats out there. There's tons of people that are selling my design on eBay because people are absolutely talentless and think that it's a cool idea to copy somebody else. So my design has geometry in here which allows the transmission to be locked in a central position. So the pivot point is actually in the middle of the slider. So it'll travel up and down without any problem. However, geometrically, it is allowed to also fully articulate. The reason this is possible is it is only attached to the transmission pretty much with a line. Also, since the Hornet's transmission is mounted in the current orientation, when you accelerate, the rotational forces spin like this. And it's hard for me to show it because I don't have a stock Hornet. But basically, it pulls the transmission up in the front and down in the rear. That locks the rear shocks down, and it locks the front slider all the way up. So under acceleration, that's why the Hornet kind of perks its rear end up and drives along. It loses suspension under acceleration. This design, however, you're still not going to have compressive forces, or at least not reasonable ones, going through the suspension. However, because the transmission isn't allowed to pivot all the way up, you will still have the ability to use that rolling rigid rear axle system effectively. So that was the whole design point or design philosophy of that. With the front suspension, Tamiya Hornet with the pink polka dot body is the same one. Okay, the one you're talking about is the Watanabe Hornet. Where's mine? Hang on. Where is the Watanabe? Usually it's in a display case in the living room. It's the only RC car in the house because my wife thinks it's cute. I think it's still in there. I haven't seen it in here. Yes. Okay, sorry, the Watanabe is not here. That is more than different tires and different body. Everything that is black here is molded purple. Really, really cool car. It's a really, really neat car. I do have a video on the Watanabe Hornet. Love that thing. So yeah, this is my daughter's Hornet. My son's also got a cool one. Let me grab his. She drives this a lot, but not like my son. That kid's like me. He's got problems. He does not want to stop driving these cars. I think my daughter just humors me because she knows I like going out with her with the car. My son, on the other hand, cannot stop. Here's his Hornet. And before any of you ask, does he have any other cars other than the Hornet? He has every car that you've seen so far. Every car that I have, it's his, pretty much. That's what he's told me. So this is his Hornet. Yeah, that's the truth. This is his Hornet. Unlike this Hornet, this was a scrap car. There's a couple of videos where there's like a Hornet with a red body in the background, and I tore that apart to build this for him. So what we have here is a Team Blue Groove reproduced Bolink Baja Bug. That was in itself a copy of the Sand Scorcher. Did you get that? So, and yes, my son has worn out all the tires on multiple occasions. So this car actually does have lights that work, because, you know, it has to. I made little light buckets at the rear also, so we'll just move that over to the side. So, complexities. As I mentioned previously, have a problem. I couldn't just mount the body. So this is the AMPRO cage. My daughter's car doesn't have what? Oh, it does. I just haven't put it on yet. All my Hornets have a cage. This Hornet cage can technically fit under the stock Hornet body, but I designed this full system here in the front and the one that you see here in the rear to allow the Bug body to mount on. So the Bug body is attached to the AMPRO cage, which is there as a structural member to reinforce the chassis. It's one of my favorite designs because it fits in the Hornet without any modifications to speak of, and it fully reinforces the cage. It really is. This is a very strong cage. And yes, this is absolutely a Novak Rooster. I've got a ton of these that I've rebuilt over the years, and I love the Rooster. What's the ESC? Oh, yeah, so the Rooster ESC. You know, you are going to have to run a LiPo alarm on that because it is old school technology. What else? Most of my cars have these little turbo racing radios. I love these radios. I usually will label them based on what cars they are. This is actually the remote also for the 131. Yes, he runs he runs the hell out of this car. He's also got a 380 motor in the back. Anything else about this car? He's got the AMPRO battery door. In fact, this is the leftover part of the red Hornet that it used to be. So that's got the orange battery door. So yeah, that's his Hornet. It's a good little car. You'll also notice that my daughter's car has the AMPRO double wishbone suspension. His doesn't. It's not favoritism. It's the fact that he's significantly rougher. He's really takes good care of his stuff, but he definitely is harder on the car than my daughter is. And I just thought, you know, these arms are really strong. So we'll just, you know, leave them with these. Whereas the nylon ones are definitely more brittle because they're nylon, they're less flexible. So when he's bigger, maybe we'll change those over. So yeah, his Hornet, my daughter's Hornet, definitely got more miles than that one, but they're both pretty commonly used. All right, let me get these out of the way. Any other requests while I put these away? I'm not at the phone right now, so don't quite write it down because I can't see it. Let's move that in there. Put you back here. There we go. All right. Okay, I'm back. Type away now. I think I need a new desk cover here. I've kind of ruined it over the years. These used to all be beautiful, but I do a lot of work here. C24, that's a great one. I love my C24. Just drove it. Okay. So the WPLC series car, in case you're not familiar, the C cars are four-linked. The B cars are leaf sprung. The D cars are like the K trucks, they're different chassis, rear drive only. There's a few others here and there too. I love this chassis. This is heavily modified. I have a video on Raminator. I do not. Those are pretty serious RC cars. I try and stick with a little bit smaller. You know, I don't have any of those crawlers. I've seen quite a number of them. The only reason I don't have them is I don't think they're very attractive. I like more of a car-esque looking vehicle. And those little crawlers, I mean, they're really capable, but they're just kind of, I don't know, it's not my style. I did have this truck at Proline by the Fire. I did a video on it, specifically on this truck, on the micro crawler course, which was awesome. The micro crawler course that was set up there was absolutely nuts. I loved it. This truck killed it over there. The only problem it really has is the 2-speeds low. It's kind of big. It's kind of low. You can see from the side there. It's probably got 20, I would say 22 to 25 millimeters of clearance. It would have more if I had bigger tires, which it's supposed to have. They are very proportional compared to love to see someone with MBPL D. I love the D series. Okay, a lot of things just happened there. First thing about the shocks, no, I haven't. But at the same time, I haven't really thought they needed it. I like oil-filled shocks, but these seem to always behave really well with the little spring friction things in them. They actually seem to behave all right. My FMS, this one here does not have, these are friction shocks. The FMS Land Cruiser that I did the review on recently does have oil-filled shocks. They look like they'll fit, but I felt that they were too stiff. Like I don't know, I felt that there was a little bit of lacking with those oil-filled shocks. I don't know. They were really good, but I just thought they were too stiff. These, again, they're cheap, but they work really well. If you drop it in first gear and you use it like a low speed, again, I don't want to say crawler, but if you want to watch the video I did, it's a couple videos ago. It's like this thing driving through a Jurassic Park themed crawler course. With these shocks, or I shouldn't even say shocks, with these springs, I have, and my cars are too heavy. So you can put a Penn spring in, that's pretty much all they are. They're just a little spring inside here. See those Ripsaw tanks? I have seen those Ripsaw tanks. They're insane. They work well if you don't add an extra ton of weight to these cars like I've done. So unfortunately, is very common, I make everything worse by adding stuff to them. They look cool. I did see that you can lift the gearbox. I may need to consider that one day. Part of the issue is that I put smaller tires on everything. And oh, I'm sorry, whoever posted that last one, that looked like a good question and I missed it. Could you repost? It was looking like a cost thing. The roll bar, I love this, actually magnetic, because the battery is right here in the back. It's right there. So if you put something here for the roll bar, you can't access the battery. So I just put magnets on everything. So there you go. So yes, it's not really a roll bar. It looks like one. I love to add weight to scale. Yeah, you can definitely do that when it's a leaf sprung truck. With this particular truck, the springs are so weak that adding any extra weight kind of ruins it, which is typical for me. This thing does run really well. I have a compulsion to modify things. I did a video on this, not this truck, though I have done the whole build in this truck is on YouTube. There's a video where I did the C14, which is this truck with a truggy back half, going over necessary mods to one of these, and there's very few. You can use one of these nearly out of the box. That's outstanding. Oh yeah, I can. Oh, I'll definitely pull out Cantilever Superfly Hornet. So yeah, this truck's got a lot of miles on it. It doesn't have as many miles as the white Land Cruiser. That thing is insane where that truck's been. I have not been nice to that vehicle. There's also a red Land Cruiser that I have that's the new version, which my son has racked up by this point probably 150 battery packs. One last thing on WPL, I get a lot of people, and it really pisses me off when people kind of talk out of their asses about certain brands. You know, I feel that negativity. Absolutely agree. Please don't ever change the intro music. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like that music. I don't appreciate it when people blindly badmouth companies. I say blindly because oftentimes they don't understand something. Like, for example, to this day, I get tons of people speaking negatively about WPL. Oh, WPL makes just a bunch of crap. This is an early WPL. This is one of the first ones that they produced, and it was garbage. Absolute garbage. Drive shafts broke on the first use. The electronics were almost unusable. Yeah, I agree with it. Now, granted, I did start this video off complaining about Tamiya, but I complain about Tamiya in that I feel like they should know better, right? I complain about them because I love them. Whereas in this case here, people complain about these cars, oh, because they're cheap crap. I'll be very clear about this, okay? Not everybody needs to spend $10,000 to build an RC car. You can have just as much fun with a $60 RC car than you can have with a $10,000 car. And I completely disagree with the fact that people seem to believe that you must spend a great deal of money. Have our made RCs? Thank you, exactly. That people must spend a lot of money to have a good time. I completely disagree with that. The purpose of the hobby is to have a good time regardless of what you can afford. These things out of the box, RTR, you can get for like $70. There are lots of kids out there and adults who maybe are just dabbling in this. They can't afford a $500 car. Those are outstanding because not only can they be purchased for a reasonable amount, they're reliable vehicles, and most importantly, replacement parts and upgrade parts are dirt cheap. So when I had this car at the crawler course, I had several people ask, "Oh, what is that?" "Oh, it's a WPL." And I had one guy completely go off at me, "Oh, those are garbage." And fortunately, his buddy, thank you, you can build and customize this yourself. I'll answer Kyosho in a second. His buddy behind him actually kind of looked at him and he went, "If it's so crappy, why is it following you?" I mean, I was following the guy telling me that WPL was junk through a crawler course, so I don't quite understand. And thank you, Psycho Garage. I completely agree with that. I love to modify stuff. I don't think you have to modify stuff. There are certain things that I think are necessary, like in the case of a lot of WPLs, the drive shafts, I don't think are very good. But for the most part, they're they're really solid vehicles out of the box. FMS, same way, they're really good out of the box. And they're good gateway cars, right? You give this to a 10-year-old, maybe he'll put the stupid phone down, right, and go play with something. I firmly believe that radio control cars, and not to get on a high horse here, but I firmly believe that radio control cars resulted in my profession and education as a mechanical engineer. Playing with these cars, and it is playing, made me who I am today. I don't know if I would be a mechanical engineer if I didn't have these toys to tinker with. So they're very, very important. And I feel that, again, that shaming someone into thinking, oh, it's just a cheap car and you need to buy something more expensive. And I hate that, you know. Not to get off subject, as I mentioned previously, I like big cars too. I don't do very many car shows because people piss me off anymore. And it's a result of a generation gap where I feel like, hang on a second. Sorry. I feel like you're looking at this and just watching me. I'm going to aim at my face for a minute here so you can watch me bitch and moan. I feel like there is a generation gap between car people, and it's likely the same way when it comes to RC car people and model train people and all these things here, where when I look back at an old car to me is a car from the 80s, okay? An old car to someone in their 70s is a car from the 50s. So I restored my family's first car, which is a 1991, I shouldn't say first car, my family's car, which is it was a 90s Toyota Tercel. And I brought it to a car show not long ago. It wasn't a car show, it was a Cars and Coffee. And I brought it over there, and I had this guy approach me. Could have kicked him in the nuts. I had this guy approach me, and he goes, "What is this piece of crap?" And I'm like, assuming he's looking at, I don't know, something random in the parking lot. So I kind of ignored him for a minute there. He was pointing at my car. And I'm like, "What do you mean piece of crap?" He goes, "This isn't a classic car." I'm like, "It is 33 years old." Okay? To put this in perspective, a 33-year-old car, when I was little, in the 80s, would have been a car from the 50s. Okay? So to me, this is an old, right? Sorry, I'm an engineer. My brain shuts off after work. So it's very odd that you would target so much distaste and hatred at, oh God, the original RC10 gearbox. I hate that gearbox also. Why you would target so much nonsense at someone that's into cars. Okay? I like cars. He likes cars. Why not talk about the fact that we like cars? I'll give you an example. At the exact same Cars and Coffee that I was at, I see a Prius roll up, an early Prius, which is the sedan Prius, right? It's the one that actually doesn't have a hatch. It's a little trunk model car. I hate Priuses. Let's just be very clear. I'm sorry. I hate Priuses. I know I'm going against what I just said. Hate Priuses. Hate everything about them. However, guy parks there, gets out of the car. I don't know. He's in his 25, 26, around there. And it's this like aqua metallic Prius. And I kind of ignored it at first. Again, I didn't realize he was there for the Cars and Coffee. I just figured he parked his Prius to get coffee. And he starts talking to some guy about he had to find this one part at the junkyard because he couldn't find it anymore. So I stopped for a minute and I just kind of like walked over there. And I don't know what the first year for the Prius was. 2002, 2003, around there somewhere. So you think about it, the guy's in his early 20s, 2003, let's just say 2003, that's 20 years ago. That means he was effectively a baby when this Prius was new. So I start overhearing him, and he starts telling me about, oh, it was his mom's car, and, you know, they stopped driving it because she got a newer, whatever the hell it was, but he loved that car, so when he, you know, he fixed it, put new batteries in it, he started talking like a car guy. And I was like, this is weird. He has a Prius. He should not be talking like a car guy. Priuses aren't driven by car guys. But that's just it. It's a generation gap, right? I don't want a Prius. However, he was talking about going to the junkyard. I did that when I was, well, still. He's going to the junkyard. He's going to body shops. He's going to upholstery shops. He's doing what I do. So the fact of the matter is, what he's doing is what I'm doing is what that guy that was bitching about my car early on was doing. So I think it's a whole cohesion thing where just don't be an asshole, right? Be inclusive. If someone's into this and you're into an SCX6, you both like RC cars. Focus on that. Enough with the rant. Who asked me about something 15 minutes ago when I started talking? I blame you guys. Don't ever get me off on a tangent. WPL, what was I going off on now? Somebody asked me for something and I completely ignored everything. Now I completely forgot. The new C74. Is that the Suzuki? Should be doing. Oh, I keep them in plastic because it keeps them clean. Because I don't have. Oh, cantilever, you got it. Because I don't have any glass display cases because we're going to redo the whole studio soon. So I never bothered buying any. So they're just sitting on shelves on little brackets. So it keeps them clean and it helps to preserve. I use these little seals on the bags. They're like these big Ziploc bags, and it helps to preserve the plasticizers in the plastic, or at least in my head they do. I don't know if it does or not. All right, Superfly. He needs a little bit of love. This is still probably one of my most used and abused cars. Cantilever suspension. I love this. It's full ball bearing too, by the way. So the pivot point is actually dual flange bearings. They work pretty good. It's a little odd on this car because I've actually got them set up weird. If you push on it, it won't rebound. And the reason for that is the rebounding on these, I take advantage of physics. The suspension is super soft on this car, and it's soft because of how terrible the car is. Hornets are pretty bad, partly because of their lightness. So all the plastic on this car really didn't gain it very much weight, and as a result of that, it's still very, very light. So we need to gain good geometry, good suspension wherever we can. Since I can't really get it at the back, I've got to get it at the front. With the rear rolling rigid rear axle, the only way I could get this car to behave the way I wanted it to was by making the front shocks absolutely weak. It doesn't matter though, because when you accelerate, it wants, I don't want to say that it's going to do this, but effectively if you floored this car with the back tires locked, it would do this, right? How dare you take advantage of physics? I actually had someone recently, one of our interns, I was complaining about a design that again, I say I complain, I'm actually quite PC at work, but I was trying to understand what the hell he was doing. And then I said something about, did you take gravity into account? And he goes, oh, I don't remember that, I don't remember that variable. And I'm like, gravity isn't a variable. What do you, this is an engine, oh my God. So anyway, I wanted to throw him out the window. I didn't because I just drove an RC cart lunch and that set you kind of straight. Ain't Land Cruisers, so cantilever suspension. Tamiya Land Cruiser cantilever suspension. You need to clarify, I'm not following you. So the ORV, this would be cool. It's a little bit ridiculous on this car. The reason it's like this is I didn't want to cut the shock towers off, straight up. I did not want to chop them up. I wanted a way to add the cantilever or add better suspension without chopping the car up. I don't like doing that. So as a result, I overcomplicated things. Now Superfly has a new shock tower because it has a new chassis with standard vertical shocks. With the 20 millimeter offset suspension. I sell 3 variations of the front end. One of them is for the stock Hornet pogo springs. One of them is for this suspension, which has a mounting point through the arm. The Hornet one, the stock Hornet one, uses that stock metal bracket. And then there's the 20 millimeter offset, which actually drops it 10 millimeters down here. So you're able to get a longer shock. So kind of a weirdness of it. But yeah, it runs pretty well. Definitely not nearly as good as the independent suspension rear Hornets, but it is surprisingly fun to drive. The CR, I don't know that chassis. I know a lot of guys that like it. I've never seen one in person. This suspension is amazing. I agree. Cantilever suspension is just cool. I have a couple of videos of this where I've got the GoPro mounted to the roof, and all you see is like this little bit of the suspension. It's so bloody cool. I've also got a shot of the Blackfoot when I did the double wishbone suspension from right here. So it's the Blackfoot driving around with the suspension working. It's really neat. This also has a cantilever center shock because this was actually designed before I did the trans brace. So it has the AMPRO battery door, which has seen better days. It has the AMPRO battery door retainer, but no trans brace. The trans brace in this case here is the shock absorber. You can see it right, kind of. I feel like you can never see anything with my lights right there. There you see it there. This shock is actually the third shock from the set that I used on this car. So I have 3 of these shocks left over. So I used one there, one there, one there. So now I have 1 random shock, of course. So yeah, there is Superfly 1. I'm going to give this little guy a little cleanup one day pretty soon. I feel like he needs a better paint job and a little bit of tidying. This car has been raced, it's been launched, it's been crashed, and it's been really solid. I've only broken the wing mount. I feel like I broke something else. I think just the wing mount. I think I've only broke the wing mount before. Superfly 2's had 2 parts broken. Superfly 3's never had anything broken. They're surprisingly durable. Who doesn't like being dirty? I also run stock motors. This is a Paradox. That's a great motor. It's an old Trinity, I think. If anybody remembers who made Paradox, I think it was Trinity. It's a great motor, though. Anyway, guys, this has been fantastic. I could probably go on talking for quite a while, even though I probably could go on rants for even longer than that. I think we should probably kill it for the night. Had a great time. I hope all of you did. And there's been quite a number of people watching this video. Any last questions or requests while we're here? I hit to the track pretty soon. It is Trinity. I thought it was. One of the few motors I've actually bought new. Do you still have your Traxxas on? Oh yeah, I do. Absolutely, I do. I've got 2 of them. I've got. I'll show you that. It's right here. I've got the one that I initially built, and then I have the Show Dog UDR. Here we go. Okay. I had this out a couple days ago. Actually, I had both of them out. So here's my UDR. I basically, any more plans for lunch? Yes, I do. Lunchbox is getting double wishbone rear suspension. It's almost done. It's gonna be amazing. So this truck here, I've ruined by doing this. Okay, it's all metal. Everything's metal. Don't do that, by the way. Metal just makes things look cooler, but it also means that if you crash it, you ruin everything because it bends. I did this because it was fun. And I basically parted this truck out to build Show Dog's car because his was junk. His was, again, there's a whole build video on that one as well. But this is a great truck. I love this car. I really love this car. This is unlike me. When I bought this, my wife looked at it and she goes, "That thing looks fast." I'm like, "Yeah, it's really fast." She goes, "But you're slow." In more ways than one, believe me. I have made RC10 mods. I've done a full battery system for it, for lithium polymer batteries and a servo mod. I've got some other stuff coming pretty soon as well. So yeah, this truck actually gets driven quite a lot. It is stuck. I shouldn't say stuck. I do have it in training mode only because I typically run this as a camera car. Everything in the rear of that solid axle buggy is unsprung way. Changing the rear suspension makes it. Oh, it went away. Damn it. I was reading that. The paint is amazing. Very fun. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yes. On the Hornet, absolutely. It's the biggest problem with the back of the car is that the entire rear of the car is unsprung. And that's why it behaves the way it does. You have all this mass back there that's just chilling. So I use this truck a lot as a camera vehicle. So that's kind of its main use. Whereas the Show Dog truck, everything on the rear is solid axle buggy, it's unsprung way, changes the rear suspension, makes a minimal difference for that reason. That's why you are talking about the Hornet, right? That's why I always complain about people that put bigger shocks on them. Adding larger shocks to the back of a Hornet or Grasshopper actually makes them worse. The only thing you can do to that car to improve it is to maintain its ability to actually negotiate terrain, which is why I have the transmission brace, which still allows it to flex up and down like this. But correct, you are not going to have any kind of suspension compression due to the fact that the motor rotates in such a way to extend the suspension under acceleration. Did you all get that? We're going to have a quiz shortly. So that's the AMPRO UDR. Where is the Show Dog UDR? It's right here. Too big. Too big. There you go. All right. There's a full build video on this thing too. I got this out of the garbage. Jim's son threw this away because it was rusted solid. Absolutely. Used to bash plastic body composite metal. Yeah, that's really the way you want to go. Composite is going to be way better than all that aluminum stuff. So yeah, there's a full build video on this thing here where I effectively rebuilt it. It is a little out of place because it's the size of the bench. So all my parts from my UDR are underneath here. Everything is from my UDR. I bought a used screw set on eBay because it was better than these. Every screw on this thing was rusted solid. If you want to see me, I actually had to download the beep, for profanity, specifically for that video because it was 90% of me shouting at this truck. It was just horrendous trying to get this thing taken apart. It has been fully rebuilt. All new gears at the rear, all new gears at the front. Main trans gears were good. New servo, new axles, new bearings, new hardware. The electronics all survived pretty well. Again, minus the servo, which is a Reefs servo. The body's pretty hammered too, but I kind of wanted to just let it be because I know how I am. I did give it a really good sanding to get out as many scratches as possible because it was just gouged to hell. I put some AMPRO hubcaps on the vehicle. Got the AMPRO. Yes, of course, John. What a ridiculous question. Of course I did. Astute. I don't have an Astute, but I really like those. All right. Good night, man. Yeah, I don't have an Astute. I really like that car. A buddy of mine does. I'm likely going to do a review on his because I like the Astute a lot. What else? Not too much on this vehicle as it's pretty much stock, other than me kind of repairing stuff. It does have the MIP drive shaft and some other minor things here. A little bit of detail work. I painted some stuff, but nothing too crazy. I kind of wanted to leave this more usable. But again, most of what I use this for is also a camera tracking car. I've got footage that no one's seen yet because of a couple of projects that are going to be happening pretty soon. But yeah, these are also Thor from a Happy Meal that I found. I found the little poly bag in the garbage. I'm like, oh, it's a little Thor head. So I cut the head off the rest of the body, and there's two Thors in here now. So yeah. All right, my friends. I think with some Chris Hemsworth, we'll call it a night. Thanks all for watching. That was a lot of fun. I'll try and do these more often. This was cool. Well, with that said, if I don't do one before Thanksgiving, to all the people out there that do celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. To those of you who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, just overeat to the point that your stomach is splitting, then fall asleep on the floor of the living room. That's basically Thanksgiving. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.